The girl from Terra Prime. The interrogation chamber aboard the Virtuous Judgment was designed to break even the strongest wills. 3 meters of soundproof alloy, null gravity tethers, and air pressure carefully calibrated to maintain psychological discomfort in most known species. It was a masterpiece of coercive design. But the girl didn't move. She sat in the center of the room, her hands chained to the chair, her feet anchored. Her posture was upright, her breathing slow. The constant flicker of the overhead lights didn't cause her to flinch. The invasive scans that pulsed through her nervous system registered no spikes in stress. Her vitals read as if she were meditating. Commander Vorn the Leon watched her through the one-way glass, arms folded behind his back. "She's been like this for 7 hours," he said, voice clipped with irritation. "She hasn't asked for food, water, or even spoken," responded Intelligence Officer Kirill. "Terrans are unpredictable, but this one, she's unnatural. Possibly damaged. Or trained," the Leon muttered. "Too trained." They had expected fire, rage, broken defiance. Humans were classified as Deathworlders for a reason. Terra Prime was an evolutionary nightmare. Gravity too high, atmosphere unstable, fauna hostile, and weather patterns that bordered on apocalyptic. The Apex Confederation had waged a 5-month campaign to subdue the world. Casualties had been higher than anticipated. Resistance cells had proved maddeningly persistent. But now, with the major cities leveled and the resistance crushed, all that remained were scattered survivors like this girl. Sierra Cade. Her name was recovered from the last Terra Command Net transmission. No rank, no known background. Just a face flagged for immediate retrieval. That had made her a priority. The Leon turned to the tech overseeing the neural probes. "Increase the visual feed. I want to watch her pupils when I show her this." "Yes, Commander." The wall screen flared to life inside the chamber. Footage played, orbital bombardments, cities reduced to rubble, oceans turned to steam. A visual symphony of destruction. Sierra didn't even blink. "You are watching the last known transmission from Earth," the Leon said, stepping into the room. His voice echoed against the walls, precise, clinical. "You may recognize some of the landmarks. That was your capital. And that," he pointed to a detonation that swallowed a mountain range, "was the last of your military command." Sierra remained motionless. He walked a slow circle around her, his armored boots clicking against the floor. "Do you feel nothing, Deathworlder? No grief? No pain? Or are you already broken?" She looked at him then, just slightly. Her eyes met his for less than a second. It was enough. Something behind that stare unsettled him. It wasn't hatred or despair. It was focus. Deep, unshakable, terrifying focus. "Your people fought savagely," he continued. "I admit that. But savagery is not strength. Strategy wins wars. Discipline, order, all of which your kind lacks." Silence. "She is delaying," murmured a voice on his comm. "We should use invasive methods." "No," the Leon replied softly. "No pain. No coercion. I want her to speak. She's hiding something, and I intend to find out what." He leaned close to her, close enough to smell the faint metallic scent of Terran blood still drying on her collar. "I could vaporize your memories one synapse at a time, but that would be unsatisfying." Her lips twitched. A smile? No, it was gone before he could confirm it. Then she spoke, just 3 words. "Time is ticking." The Leon straightened. "What did you say?" Sierra's eyes returned to the blank wall. "You wouldn't understand. Try me. I've already told you more than I should." He clenched his jaw. Something wasn't right. He checked the vitals again. Her pulse, precisely 47 beats per minute. Oxygen, stable. Cortisol, negligible. No fear. No anticipation. Just stillness. Like a predator waiting in the brush. And then, for the first time, she moved. Only slightly. She tilted her head back and closed her eyes. "What are you doing?" The Leon snapped. She inhaled. Slowly. "Counting," she whispered. 3. "Counting for what?" 4. The Leon activated his comm, locked down this chamber. "Now, I want." 5, 6. An alarm chimed once, briefly, then died. 7, 8. The lights flickered. "Commander, we're losing main power." A panicked voice crackled in his ear. 9 in. Sierra opened her eyes. Cold. Serene. 11. At that precise moment, the chamber doors slammed shut. The lights went red, and somewhere deep in the ship, a hull breach alarm began screaming. Commander the Leon turned sharply toward the control window, but the girl didn't move. 11 seconds. Panic spread through the virtuous judgment like a virus. The flickering lights gave way to a full systems blackout, replaced only by the pulsing glow of emergency reds. Inside the command bridge, Apex officers barked in their native tongue, attempting to reroute power, regain control of failing systems, and restore ship-wide comms. None of it worked. Commander the Leon emerged from the interrogation wing, his jaw tight, cloak flowing behind him like smoke. "Status report," he demanded. "Unknown cyber intrusion." Kirill responded, his mandibles twitching. "It's not affecting us through external networks." The breach, it came from inside. The Leon turned sharply. "Inside," Kirill swallowed. "Origin traced to sublevel 9. Interrogation chamber 7. Thalian's eyes narrowed. The girl. He opened a private channel to the ship's AI core. Silence. He tried again. Static. "She's a decoy," he muttered. "A vector." "Sir?" Kirill asked, confused. "She was meant to be captured. She brought something aboard, and now it's inside our system." The Leon tapped his command bracer. "Purge the entire deck. Lock it down. Neutralize her." "Sir, our weapon systems are offline." "Then send everything with claws and teeth." In the cell, Sierra Cade remained still, her wrists still bound, though now only for appearances. The tethers had disengaged the moment the blackout began. She smiled faintly as the faint hum of pressure doors locked the chamber tight. The Apex hadn't realized it yet, but they'd already lost control of the virtuous judgment. They just didn't know how badly. 11 seconds. That was all it took. 11 seconds from her activation phrase to the deployment of Prometheus, an advanced Terran virus AI seated inside her bloodstream, encoded in dormant nanites, undetectable by scans. The moment her vitals reached the right stress threshold, under duress but stable, it woke and spread, leapfrogging through biometric links, hijacking systems faster than the Apex's quantum firewalls could blink. They thought they had her in chains. They had chained themselves. A hiss echoed from the door. Something was coming. The two Apex enforcers entered first, tall, spike-armored, six-limbed. They moved fast, weapons drawn, mandibles clacking. Sierra didn't flinch. The first one stepped forward to scan her. He never finished. The lights blinked, just once, and he collapsed, spine severed. The second raised his weapon too slowly. A whisper moved through the air, a blur in the red emergency light, and then a hand burst through the Apex's chest from behind. He convulsed once, then dropped. Sierra looked up, calm. "Elias," she said. Captain Elias Rain stood in the doorway, breathing slow, controlled. Matte black armor clung to him like a second skin, still steaming from reentry. His face, half obscured behind a tactical visor, was streaked with ash. She nodded toward the chains. He lifted a single finger. The chains snapped open. "How long?" she asked, standing. 35 minutes before Apex reinforcements triangulate. "You ready?" She stretched her neck, rolled her shoulders. "Been ready for 11 seconds. Elias tapped a command into his wrist console. "Ghost protocols engaged. Ship's AI is ours. We're overriding navigation now. Auto-destruct subroutines wiped. Weapon systems offline." She smiled again. "Let's make a statement." Commander the Leon arrived at the chamber just in time to see the aftermath. The two enforcers lay in a pool of ichor. The girl was gone. The cell door had been carved open from the inside, smooth, clean, surgical. "They're loose on my ship," he snarled. "A girl and a soldier." "No, Commander," Kirill said quietly. "The soldier. We've eyed him." Elias Rain. Ghost Division. Thought extinct. Ghost Division, Terran Black Ops. Rumored to be biologically augmented to survive on Deathworlds, even Apex dared not approach. Every file the Confederation had on them ended with redacted autopsy reports, and high-ranking casualties. Thalian's claws dug into the bulkhead. How do we let this happen? No one answered. A voice crackled over the internal comms. Not the Apex AI. Something else. Sierra's voice. You try to understand us by dissecting us. You failed. Another voice followed. Elias. We try to warn you. You called us animals. Now we're just behaving accordingly. Then silence. Then laughter. Sierra's voice again. Not mocking but amused. 11 seconds. The lights died completely. Far across the ship, Elias and Sierra walked silently through the maintenance tunnels toward the primary reactor. Apex guards patrolled the halls, but most never saw what killed them. The Apex had trained their elite to fear large-scale invasions, fleets, artillery, shock troops. But humans had mastered the art of the ghost kill. Subtle, precise, inescapable. Sierra turned to Elias. You think the Leon will run? Elias shook his head. He'll posture. That's what they do. He doesn't understand yet that the ship's already ours. By the time he does, he'll be gone. Gone, like the rest of them. Gone like smoke. Sierra said nothing more. She didn't need to. The countdown had already begun. The Apex commander vanishes. Commander Vorn the Leon stood rigid in the ship's command center, eyes locked on the distorted holographic map of the Virtuous Judgment. Glitches spasmed across the display. Entire decks flickered between green and red, secured and compromised, until the whole map began to pulse like a dying heartbeat. A voice over the internal comms made him flinch. Section 12, silent. Section 15, team unresponsive. Section 20, breach detected. Section 21, doors fused shut from inside. Not one enemy fleet. Not even a squad. Just a girl and a ghost. This is madness, Kirill hissed, stalking beside him. No force this small could achieve this level of sabotage. They must have internal support. They don't, the Leon growled. They don't need it. They are the sabotage. He turned away from the glitching map and looked into the eyes of the young comms officer seated at the bridge console. How long until reinforcements? The officer swallowed. 33 minutes, Commander. Too long. This was no longer an assault. This was an execution. Deep in the ship's lower spine, Elias Rain advanced like death made flesh. He moved through smoke and shadows, avoiding light not because he feared it. He simply had no use for it. His rifle, a compact Terran railgun, hummed low in his hands, and every step was measured, silent. Sierra followed close behind, scanning junction nodes and uploading segments of the Prometheus AI into subsystems as they passed. Fire suppression, gravity modulation, door locks, life support. With each upload, they stripped more control from the Apex. They've rerouted power to the escape hangar, Sierra noted, checking her wristpad. Guess who's planning a quick exit? Elias didn't smile. He didn't need to. They both knew. Commander the Leon strode down the corridor toward the escape hangar flanked by his remaining elite guards. They moved fast, weapons raised, nerves tight. We hold this location, he ordered. I don't care if Rain turns into plasma. When he comes, I want every weapon trained on that entrance. They formed a defensive arc around the hangar bay doors. The hum of the escape pod systems came online. One pod, just one. The rest had been disabled. The Leon had no intention of dying for pride. Then the lights went out. Not dim, gone. Utter blackness. He turned, fangs bared. Lights, reactivate. No response. Then the sound came. A click. Soft. Metallic. From somewhere ahead. Then silence. One of the guards stepped forward, activating his thermal visor. Nothing. He's. The soldier vanished. Not screamed. Not gurgled. Just gone. The others opened fire. Panicked. Shots tore through walls and shadows, illuminating the hangar in split-second snapshots of chaos. Another guard disappeared mid-step. Then a third lifted off his feet and slammed into the ceiling, spine crumpling. Then stillness again. The Leon backed toward the pod, claws trembling. Rain, he shouted into the dark. Show yourself. A whisper answered. From behind him. I already have. The Leon turned. Too slow. A hand gripped his throat and slammed him against the bulkhead. Not hard. Controlled. terrifyingly calm. The Leon stared into Elias Rain's eyes, unblinking, utterly human. There was no rage, no glee, only judgment. You could have surrendered, Elias said. You could have left Terra alone. You're primitives, the Leon spat, even as his voice cracked. We are evolution's pinnacle. You were born to kneel. Elias tilted his head. We were born where the air tries to kill you, where the ground shakes, where the cold cuts like knives. We didn't kneel there. We're sure as hell not kneeling here. He leaned in closer. You think perfect biology makes you a god. But in war, perfection dies. Survivors win. The pod's access panel sparked behind them. Sierra appeared, leaning casually in the doorway. Want to say the line again? She asked. The Leon blinked. What line? The one about us being animals. Go ahead. Say it slow. He said nothing. Sierra sighed. Shame. You Apex always get chatty when you're on top. Elias's grip tightened. And then, he vanished. Not fled. Not walked away. Vanished. The Leon, Apex commander of the virtuous judgment, highest among the genetically perfected Apex, was gone. No explosion. No scream. Not a drop of blood. Only a single scorched handprint on the wall where he'd been held. Sierra stared for a moment, then turned to Elias, who stood a few steps away, wiping his gloves. What did you do? She asked. Vacuum pulse. Precision window open to space, 1 molecule thick. Internal field kept us protected. He looked back. He didn't get one. That's cold. That's war. They turned and walked to the pod, but neither entered. Now what? Sierra asked. We make sure the Confederation finds this ship. Let them see what one Terran girl and a dead soldier did to their pride. Sierra tapped her wrist pad. Across the virtuous judgment, every screen blinked to life. A message. Simple. Stark. Broadcast in every Apex dialect. You thought we were beaten. You mistook stillness for surrender. 11 seconds was all it took. Terra lives. Terra lives. The virtuous judgment drifted through space like a ghost ship. Its engines were silent. Its lights flickered only in fragments. Hallway strobes, half-dead indicators, occasional glows from malfunctioning terminals. Where once thousands of Apex crew marched in flawless coordination, now there was only stillness. And fear. Only 40 Apex remained. From a distance, the ship still looked intact, imposing, powerful, a symbol of the Confederation's supremacy. But inside it was a tomb. Sierra stood in the center of the former command bridge, boots crunching on fragments of broken glass and shattered holographic consoles. She stared out through the wide viewport into the stars. Terra wasn't visible from here, but she could feel its pull. I've routed the ship's emergency beacon through the long-range broadcast array, she said. Elias approached, wiping Apex ichor from his forearm. Think they'll bite. They have to. Losing the virtuous judgment without explanation, that kind of silence will panic them. They'll come sniffing around. Elias glanced at the console, where Sierra had cued a repeating message. This vessel has been claimed by the children of Terra. Do not retrieve it. Do not approach. 11 seconds was enough. You think they'll believe it was just the two of us? Elias asked. Sierra shrugged. Let them wonder. Fear fills in the blanks better than facts ever could. He nodded. This wasn't just a victory. It was a lesson. On a desolate outpost, moon-orbiting Apex space, High Lord Zarvek watched the incoming data stream in stunned silence. The virtuous judgment, the flagship of Subsector 19, had gone dark 36 hours ago. Initial reports had suggested technical failure. But then came a message. The one being broadcast every 8.6 seconds on every frequency the Apex used. Zarvek rewound the final visual. It showed a single Terran, female, unarmored, sitting motionless in an Apex interrogation chamber. Then static. Then nothing. No security footage of her escape. No trace of Commander the Leon. Just that repeating voice, clipped and calm. 11 seconds. He felt the cold weight of dread settle over him. If one human girl and a ghost could dismantle a ship this secure, what else might still be hiding in the ashes of Terra? He reached for his communicator. We need the council, he rasped. Now. Back on the virtuous judgment, Elias stood with Sierra in the pod hangar once more. The single remaining pod had been pre-programmed, not to escape, but to deliver. Beacon set to drift on a delay, he said, locking it in. They'll follow it thinking we fled. While they waste time with the decoy, we vanish. Good, Sierra said, because I'm not done yet. Elias raised an eyebrow. Where to next? She pulled up the star map. The Apex had dozens of logistical hubs and relay points between their core worlds. Most were automated, most unguarded, now that they believed Terra was broken. But they were all connected. If we seed Prometheus into 3 more points, Sierra said, we can create a loop inside their command net. False orders, ghost fleets, conflicting battle plans. Civil war, Elias said. Confusion first. Collapse second. He grinned. You really are Terran. Sierra looked away for a moment, her expression unreadable. My little sister was in a school in Rio when the first Apex bombs fell. She loved puzzles, logic games, said humans don't lose as long as we keep thinking. Elias said nothing, but his gaze softened. We couldn't save everyone, she said quietly, but we can make sure they're remembered, not as victims, as weapons. He extended his hand. She took it. The two of them stepped into the darkness of the access shaft one final time. Behind them, the virtuous judgment remained drifting, a hollow monument to Apex arrogance, its systems locked in a recursive loop of failure and silence. Soon, the Confederation would send scouts, then warships, then analysts, and they would all find the same thing. No bodies, no battle, no warning, just a whisper from the walls. 11 seconds. Epilogue. 3 months later, the Apex Council held an emergency session on Cyrex Prime, buried deep in one of their inner worlds. Of the 247 capital ships once stationed on the border rim, 94 were now missing. Not destroyed, missing. Whole crews gone. No distress calls. No damage. Just ships found intact, drifting. On every bridge, the same message played. Stillness is not surrender. We were never broken. Just waiting. Terra lives. A new term was whispered in the darker corners of Apex society. The Silence War. Not a war of armies. A war of seconds. Of Terrans.